joining us as our guest lecturer. She will share insights on current issues of reproductive health in Thailand. And this session will be conducted fully in English, and students are welcome to ask questions directly during the discussion session or through the chat box. And it is my great pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Ajahn Manasigan Kancana Citra from the for Population and Social Research, Maido University. She is currently an associate professor with strong expertise in population and health research, particularly in health promotion, impact evaluation, work-life balance, and family-friendly policies. She earned her PhD in economics from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and has extensive experience in teaching and research on monitoring and evaluation, health programs, and population studies. Her work integrates policy analysis, behavioral perspectives, and real-world program implementation, making her insights highly relevant to today's topic. So without further ado, I would like to invite Ajahn Manasigan to begin her presentation. But maybe before we start, you start your presentation, can we have a picture together?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, so I would like to invite everyone to open your camera. We have Ibu Aditya Kusumawati. She is the chief of our division, the behavioral sciences and sorry, health promotion and behavioral sciences. We also have Pak Fahmi here, Zul Fahmi. He is also one of the lecturers in our faculty. Okay, so everyone, maybe you can start your video so we can have a picture together. Okay, on my count, 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. So today we are going to listen carefully to what Ajahn Manas we are going to present. So to Ajahn Manas again, the time and place is yours.
All right. Thank you so much. So today I will be talking about current issues in reproductive health. And so thank you for the introduction. And so I have some experience in the reproductive health issues, mostly from kind of like the behavioral side, I would suppose, because as I don't know if you how familiar are you with the situation in Thailand? But one of our main challenges right now is very low fertility rate, and a lot of people don't want to have children. So one of the things that I focus on in recent years is on work-life balance. So it's kind of like a societal side of view in trying to, design a lifestyle that is conducive to having children. So we know that there are many factors for people to decide to have children, and like providing medical services and like healthcare services. That's one side, but there are like social side, like the economic side. So I focus on that issue, on trying to provide how to, like, build a society where it's possible for families to have children. So that's what I am mainly interested about. And recently, in Thailand, we have the Department of Health, and they have a policy, a 10-year policy on um, on reproductive health. So it's a national policy, and it is ending this year, their 10-year plan. And another expertise of mine is monitoring and evaluation, as Novia has mentioned. And so my task, along with Ajahn Dusita, which I understand she taught like maybe last week or the week before, she and I are now evaluating the national plan on reproductive health and see how that has like how that has achieved its goals or something like that. Okay, so that's a little bit of the background. So I will start by sharing my
Yes.
slide. Okay, and can you guys see?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, so our topic today is current issues in reproductive health in Thailand. So I'm Manasikan Kachanachitra from the Institute for Population and Social Research, Mahidol University, Thailand. So at we call it IPSR. So at IPSR, we do a lot of research concerning reproductive health. That's one of our research clusters. So for today, I plan on four things as the learning objectives. Okay, so the first one is I would like to talk about the key reproductive health trends in Thailand over the years, because as society changes, the issues related to reproductive health in Thailand has changed dramatically. And especially in these past 10 years, it has changed a lot as well. Number two, I would like to be talking about the current SRH challenges that Thailand faces now. Number three is to compare policy responses over time. Would like to show you how Thailand has responded to these SRH challenges. And I would like to challenge you to also try to critique the policy responses and perhaps compare to your own country how, like, what your SRH challenges are and how your country responds to those challenges and whether or not they are successful. And finally, like I said before, that issues concerning reproductive health has to do a lot with social and cultural factors. And those are some things that we have to also take into account when we're designing policy. We cannot look at the issue from only one side, right? And we have to understand the whole picture of why we have certain SRH outcomes, why we have these challenges, and then the policy can address everything, as comprehensive as possible. As you will see later that Thailand, we have not very much succeeded in trying to address the social and cultural factors as much as we would like to. Okay. So before we begin, I would like to ask you to think about this. Like, what does it mean for a country to succeed in SRH? What does it mean? Like, if this country, they say that, oh, this country is a success story, what does it mean? I don't know if you are comfortable like turning on your mic and answering, or you can put it in the chat box, like maybe something that you think is, something that would say that this country is successful in SRH. Because the reason I bring this up, because Thailand is considered in many cases a success story as well. But I think it depends on what it means. So if anybody's comfortable, you can open the mic and give me the answer. Or some people, you can also write down in the meeting chat.
Ada yang mau raise hand atau mau menyampaikan pendapatnya lewat chat?
Ah, very interesting. Yes, the first one. Everyone can probably see the meeting chat. Have CSE in curriculum. I think that is an important part. Yes. Maybe I would like to see a few more.
Ayo, yang lain gimana?
Okay, maybe one more. Okay. Yeah. Yes, that's a good one. Maternal and infant mortality rates. That's one of the major indicators. Exactly. Low rates of maternal mortality and teenage pregnancy. Yes. So okay. So we have like maternal mortality rates, infant mortality rates, and teenage pregnancy. Yes, those are the standard indicators that is used to track each country, right? Whether they are doing well or not in the SRH reproductive health issues. And yeah, I would like you to think about this before we go into the issue and the current issues in Thailand. And at the end, maybe I would like to ask you if you think Thailand is a success story or not. Okay. All right. Thank you for the response. All right. So let's give a little background of Thailand. I don't know how familiar you are with Thailand context, but in terms of like SRH issues, right now what we are facing is the rapid fertility decline, right? Also, we have universal health coverage, which almost 100% of the population has some kind of health insurance. So it is rare that now Thai citizens would have like catastrophic health expenditure. And we also have strong primary healthcare system, but at the same time, we still have new challenges emerging. So talking about birth in Thailand first, okay, we have three main phases that we had gone through in the past half a century. So in the past 50 years, we've seen a major change. Okay, so in phase one, that was about over 50 years ago. We had a period of very high fertility. So high fertility for Thailand, it was probably the TFR was probably about 6 to 7. So compared to some countries, it might not have been that high, but for Thailand, it was around 6 and 7. And at that time, we had a national plan that was about 50 years ago that the government seemed to think that if we keep growing at this rate, they would not be able to like take care of all the population, and families would become impoverished, and like they would not have enough food and things like that. So they did have a policy back then, about 50 years ago, saying that the more children you have, the poorer you will be. Okay, so that's kind of like the slogan during that time. The more children you have, the poorer you will be. Okay, and that was a very effective slogan because it stuck with people, and it did have like a long-term impact on how Thai people view having children right now. Okay, so at that time, of course, there was this slogan, but it also had to be coupled with contraceptive services, which for Thailand, our people are very accepting of using contraceptive. Uh, at IPSR where I work, we also like during that time we just started having our institute, and our professors back then, they did go and collect data, and they did find that um, most families have more children than they want. Okay, so during that time, the high fertility, having many, many children, it wasn't because they wanted that many children, but they didn't know how to stop having children. So they kept having children and more than they would desire. Okay, so during that time, it was high fertility. The government came up with a national long-term plan to slow down population growth there, and that reflects in the plan, right? So they would set like, okay, uh, they would like to bring the TFR down to this number, things like that, and then provide the contraceptive services. And that was actually a big success, because after that, we saw the birth rate in Thailand start declining like very, very rapidly. So that's phase one. Phase two, we start to have emergent adolescent pregnancy and inequality. Okay, so after like the majority of population having fewer and fewer children, there was a group of teenagers, adolescents, who are beginning to have earlier and earlier pregnancy. So that was another challenge that came um, that we had to deal with later, and inequality as well, and especially in terms of adolescent pregnancy, because we would see that adolescent pregnancy is concentrated only in some areas. And then finally, this is the phase that we are in. We are low fertility, and we have issues about rights-based challenges. So in this transition in the past 50 years, what I would like to highlight is that SRH priorities changes with development. You would see that it will change. And in the next 10 years, maybe there will be other SRH priorities. So again, I would like to invite you to think about your own country, how SRH priorities have changed over the years. From 50 years ago, what were the main issues? Right now, what are the main issues? And maybe in 10 years, what are the main issues? You don't have to think about 50 years ahead, because I think that might be too far, and things would change much more than our capacity to understand. So maybe just like 5 years, 10 years from now, what would the SRH priorities change in your country or not? Okay, so I would like to show you some of the pictures, not pictures, graphs of the trends in the number of births and death in Thailand, starting from 1937 until last year, 2025. Okay, so we have the blue line and the orange line. The blue line is the number of births. So our country has much fewer population than Indonesia. Indonesia has like what, 300 million? I don't know. You have a lot.
200 million.
So we have 65 million right now. And there was a time that we had a lot of birth, and we call that the million birth cohort. Okay, so during that time, the number of births in Thailand per year exceeded 1 million births. So that was like, the major like baby boom of our time. So according to Thai definition, I'm also a baby boomer because I was born like during that time. Yeah, this is in Buddhist era. So you would have to do some calculations. This is like in 1960 right here when we started exceeding 1 million. And it was a period of about like 20 years of a million births per year up until about, this is like in the 1980s. Okay, so like in the 60s up to about the 80s, where you can see that the birth rate exceeded the 1 million mark. And then it started to fall, 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 and fall, and fall. And the latest last year, we counted how many births there are in Thailand, and it was only 400,000, much less than 500,000. So we are experiencing a very rapid decrease in birth. And when you see the number of birth, we also like to look at the number of death as well. So you see that, probably like this is like in the 1990s around here, we start seeing an increase, and you see a sharp increase here. That was during COVID. So there was a jump in the number of death, and then it's kind of like plateaued. But what is significant here is that about 5 years ago, you see these two lines, they intersected. What does that mean? That means the number of deaths is now higher than the number of births in Thailand. So what does that mean then? That means there are more population dying and only a few newborns. So the total number of population in Thailand is now shrinking. Okay, so Thailand is now in a declining population. So right now we are at about like 65, yeah, and then we will start declining, and it is projected that we will probably end up at around like 35 million or 40 million by the end of 2100. So by the end of this century, we would have probably half, almost half, a little bit more than half of the current population that we have right now. So that is something that that people find quite alarming, that we would have fewer and fewer population. And I think what is more kind of alarming is the proportion of people that right now we would have a higher proportion of older and older generations. So that is something that people are quite concerned about. Yeah. Let's see. I mentioned about like having high birth rate, right? In the past, and then there had been a national policy to curb down the number of birth. That was in Buddhist era 2513. So you see here, this is 2512. So that was about close to 60 years ago that we had this policy. So you see, that is around the peak. And right after that national plan, you see it's starting to decline, and not going back anywhere since. Okay. So this is like kind of like a picture. And again, the reason that I was invited is to show you Thailand's situation. And you will, benefit from my experience or from Thailand's experience when you also compare to your own situation as well. Where is Indonesia right now? Because actually, it's something that all countries go through, that they would go through a period of high birth, and then the number of birth will start declining. And countries will also go through a period of low death, and then it will start to rise, which it will start to rise because we will have more and more older people, right? So there would be a higher number of deaths. All right. So where is Indonesia in this phase? Here is also another number on the trends in total fertility rate and the life expectancy in Thailand. And here is the trend from 1990 to 2023. So the purple line here is the total fertility rate, or like the number of children that a woman would have in her reproductive years. So in the 1990s, it was above two, but it was barely above two, 2.1. 2.1 is actually an important number. And I hope you know why. 2.1 is I would imagine that you'll answer. 2.1 is the replacement rate. It means that at 2.1, we can guarantee that our population will remain stable, because it takes two people, right, to make a human being. And um, they kind of like overestimate that, or so if the TFR is 2.1, it will replace one couple, right? So we were at replacement rate in the 1990s. That was a long time ago. And after that, it started declining, declining, declining. This is 1.2 in 2023. The latest estimate in 2025 is already at 1.0. And they have already made projections for 2026, and they think that it would be 0.9, something around that. So it's still going down, down, and down. And again, if you see like total fertility rate or birth rate, they would also have to compare it with the death rate, or here they compare it to life expectancy. How long do you expect to live when you're born, right? So in the 90s, a person born in Thailand on average would be expected to live 29 years. But as medical technology services improve, we have longer and longer lifespan. And right now it's around 76 years, the life expectancy. And that is that is important, because it will have an effect on the age structure of a country. So this is what we expect Thailand population will look like 10 years from now. Okay, so at IPSR, we do projections. So right now we are at 65.5 million people. And in 10 years, we are expected to drop by about 4 million people, down to 61.9 million. So that is the whole picture, right? But you have to look at who will be missing. So in 10 years, we think that the children 0 to 14 years will be reduced by 3.8 million. So about 4 million children, that we will have 4 million children fewer than we have right now. So suppose right now we have like 10 million children. In 10 years, we will have only 6 million children. So 3.8, we will have 3.8 fewer children in 10 years. Working age, that is also a very important group, 15 to 59 years. That's how we define it in Thailand. 3.4, we will have fewer working age by 3.4 million. So that adds up to about 7 million that's gone, right? But it's actually not 7 million fewer because we will have more older people, like the 60 years and over. There will be more of them, 3.6 million more. So that would make Thailand look so much more different just in 10 years. Just in the period of 10 years, we will have a completely different demographic composition. And that has very, very important implications on the economy. But in Thailand, I feel, this is my feeling, I feel that the government doesn't take this seriously at all. And I don't know how familiar you are with Thailand, but we change governments like so very often. Like we just got a new government a few months ago, and the government before that didn't last more than a year, and the government before that didn't last more than a year. But this is a long-term problem. So policymakers, politicians, this is not what they're going to focus on because most of them will be here for, a year, 2 years. There's no political stability. So why would they like focus on something that has, um, long-term consequences? They would rather like, something quick, easy win to show that, they have like done some work or something like that. So yeah, as an academic, I am quite worried about like the inaction that the government is taking towards the population issue. So here's like what the population looks like. This is like in 2000, in year 2000. So that's about 25, 26 years ago. The population pyramid shows that, Thailand had a pretty big working age population. But then in 2025, 25 years later, you see that it's getting skinnier, noticeably skinnier at the base and quite wider up on top, over 40. So that means the majority of people are quite old, at least like 40 years and over. And in just less than 10 years from now, look at the base. Look at the base of 0 to 4 years old. It's like tiny right now in 8 years. Um, so you see that the base is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, while the top is getting larger and larger and larger. So I have done the population pyramid for Indonesia, but that was a long time ago, as in like close to 10 years ago. And it was still during that time, it still looked pretty much like this. You still have a healthy chunk of children and working age population. So I don't know what it looks like right now, but usually all countries go through some changes like this. Not, I mean, if not now, then later, which Indonesia can also learn from other countries and prepare, and like during this time you can reap the benefits of having a healthy working age population. So you're in good time to grow your economy. Is there any questions or anything that you would like to share before I go on? Again, if you're not comfortable opening your mic, you can also type in the chat. Let me get a sip of water. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, okay? Or you can drop it in the chat box as well. Okay, so the TFR, or total fertility rate, as I mentioned before, it's been decreasing, right? So here, from 2012 to 2022, 1.8, down, 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 down. But what I would also like to highlight, which is something that you should not just look at the total average in the whole country, because you're missing some of the pictures. Here, if you look at like by residence area, you have urban versus rural, you would see different trends. Like in the urban, it has always been lower than the rural areas, which probably has to do with a lot of social, cultural factors and like lifestyle and things like that. Or if you look at the region, in Thailand, we like to separate the countries into 5 major regions, with Bangkok being one of them, because most of the population, like a large share of population, live in Bangkok. So there's Bangkok, there's the central region, the northern region, the northeastern region, and then the southern region. And in the past, like in 2022, Bangkok has always been one of the lowest. So it has been 1.2, like more than 10 years ago. And Northeast used to be the highest. But as time has passed, right now in Bangkok is as low as 0.6. 0.6 is super, super low. So people in Bangkok are barely having any children right now. Um, and highest is in the south. So we have 1.6 in the south. But this is from 2022. So 3 years from here, the TFR has actually lowered. So the urban and Bangkok, we have the lowest TFR. So again, I would like you to think about the contributing factors. What are causing these differences? Is it due to like, you know, access to contraceptive? Do you think that might be the case? People in Bangkok can access contraceptive better than other areas? Is it due to other factors like social factors, economic factors, lifestyle factors? So this is something that I would like to invite you to think about critically when understanding these numbers. Here's modern contraceptive use among women who are currently married or in union, 2012 to 2022. So, you might have some theory, or you might have some hypothesis, like why are there differences? Some hypotheses can be tested or can be answered by, looking at numbers. So suppose you might think, okay, people in the urban area, maybe they have better access to contraceptive methods, and that's why they have lower TFR. We take a look at the percentage of modern contraceptive, and actually in the past, in 2012, what do you see here? The purple line is higher than the orange line. And the purple line happens to be people in the rural area. So maybe it is not that issue that people in the rural area do not have access to modern contraceptive use. So it must be, something else. But as you can see that in Thailand, it's quite relatively high, the use of modern contraceptive for women who are currently married or in union. Okay, this is the next issue of high adolescent pregnancy. So here, the different columns are like data from different sources. So at the beginning, they collected data through UNWPP, and then later on, it was by the Ministry of Public Health. And in some years where they collect data, what does it stand for? By UNICEF, there's the DHS and MIX. Those are two kind of surveys, multiple indicator cluster survey, it says right here. Yeah, so they would come and then collect data on like mother and health issues. Okay, so for Thailand, this is the rate per thousand. So in 2009, it was 51, which is high. In Thailand, we set the goal right now at not exceeding 25. Okay, so it was high back then, and it peaked around 2011. So it was at 52. And then we tried to tackle this problem. And I would say that they were very successful in tackling this problem. So it started to come down, 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 down. And then the Ministry of Public Health started to collect the data. And recently it's below 20. So we have reached that target of adolescent pregnancy rates. Okay. I am now evaluating the national plan on reproductive health, their 10-year national plan on reproductive health. And one of the goals that they set was to reduce the adolescent pregnancy rates. And I went to interview people from the Ministry of Public Health, and they said that yes, they were very successful in doing that. But at the same time, there is now a new problem because they went around the adolescent to get contraceptive, like especially like taking contraceptive pills, and then like like more long-term contraceptive methods. So now adolescents in Thailand go about having intercourse, but they're not protected against like STIs, like sexual transmitted diseases, STDs. So the rates of STDs in Thailand, like syphilis and things like that, among teenagers is now increasing very rapidly. So what they reflected from the Ministry of Public Health, and I think a lot of ministries around the world, governments around the world have that problem too, is that they work in silos. This ministry is responsible for this, and within the ministry they have departments. So the department that came up with this plan, they are the Department of Reproductive Health, while STD issues is in another department of infectious diseases. Okay, so you will be public health students. You will have to look at, how things like this work. And yeah, so the Department of Reproductive Health is not concerned about those diseases. They're concerned about pregnancy rates. And they were successful in doing that, in controlling the pregnancy rates. But another problem appears in another department where, syphilis is now surging in teenagers. Okay, so this is something that we have to work to try to, be more integrated in how we plan our work, how we plan our policy, how we plan our services, and like try as little as possible to have like separate silos working independently only on your target without thinking about, other um, effects that it might have. So yeah. So right now I would like to go to another session. So that was kind of like a background for Thailand. So I hope you understand a little bit more about the background that in the past 50 years, how we have evolved in terms of birth rates. We have declining birth rates. I haven't mentioned anything about like maternal and infant mortality rates, which the students have shared that they're important indicators, which they are. And for Thailand, we have kind of like already achieved the goal, the target for MMR quite a while ago. So that is not the current issue that we are dealing with. Okay, I see something in the chat. Let me check. Oh, probably answering. Yeah. I agree. So this is probably like a response to like why are people having different TFRs in different areas? And it's probably not just something about like health services, like access to health services, but it's something probably like work pressure or something like that, that they don't think about having a child anymore. All right, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so in Thailand, I think hopefully you see kind of like, the picture of what is going on. And so I would like now to turn to our policy response. So I would like to mention the national strategies on this issue. So we had the first national reproductive health policy and strategy in 2010, and that one was about a 5-year plan. So it covered from 2010 to 2014. And then we had the second one, the second National Reproductive Health and Strategy, and that was from 2017, and it's ending this year in 2026. And this second one is the one that me and Ajahn Dusita are going to evaluate and see how they have done for this second one. So this one is a 10-year plan, and they are now developing the third national plan for reproductive health. Okay, so in the past 10 years, what I've seen so far that it has changed a lot. In 2017, when they started drafting this plan, this policy, things were much different than what it is now. So I'll go through some of them. Okay, let's go to the first national reproductive health policy and plan. That again was in 2010 to 2014. At that time, the focus was on expanding services, SRH services, all across the country, making sure that everybody was able to access the SRH services. Number two, the basic indicator that every country has to be able to meet is reducing maternal mortality. That is very important. So the focus was on reducing maternal mortality. And number three was strengthening family planning. So as you can see, it's based on the services that we provide. Make sure that we have good system in place, so that everybody in Thailand would have good SRH outcomes. So it was kind of like the structure, the public health, the system building. So that was the focus of the first national reproductive health policy. So the key achievements from the first policy was the MCH coverage. So in Thailand, 99% of births are attended by skilled health personnel, and that is still around that percentage now. So close to 100% that all births are attended by skilled health personnel. In terms of family planning, the contraceptive use is still high at around 80%. And there was a big reduction in equality. So in 2010 was after we had UHC for about 8 years. Okay, so there was a big reduction in the inequality due to universal health coverage. So everyone was able to access SRH services. But at the end of the first national reproductive health policy, there were still remaining challenges. The first one is the rapidly declining birth rate, or the TFR. It dropped to about 1.6 at the end of the plan. Okay. Two, we saw an increase in the teenage pregnancy. This was during 2010 and 2014. So it surged from 31 to 54 per thousand in about 2012. And as you saw, it was like around that area. And there are also infertility issues because people are now getting married much later. And by the time that they decide to have children, they're like over 35. So there are more and more issues in terms of infertility. So those were the remaining challenges at the end of the first national policy. So this is what has to be taken into account in developing the second national RH policy. So they had how many years? Like, okay, this is the wrong year. This has to be what, 2017 to 2025. I'm sorry for this mistake. So this is the second national RH policy. So the focus has shifted. At first, it was population control. Now we want to promote birth, promote quality birth and healthy growth. So we're thinking of like producing more quality population. Okay. So the goal is to maintain the TFR, not to go lower than 1.6, which we failed miserably. Right now, it's less than 1. They also set a target of no less than 700,000 births per year. Okay, the target is no less than 700,000. The latest year, we had 400,000. And this year, we're thinking that it will probably be in 300,000. So we have failed in that terms, like miserably. The aim was to reduce the adolescent birth rate and increase the birth quality. So the approach for the second one, like the first one, it was like, laying down the system, making sure everyone had access to the services. This one, they use more of a life course perspective. Okay. And they try to address more of the social determinants in, designing, like, okay, they want to maintain TFR no less than 1.6. They work with like the Ministry of Labor to extend the maternal leave period. Okay, they work with the Ministry of Finance, having tax incentives for people who have children. They work with the Ministry of Social Welfare, to provide money to help families with children. They work with the Ministry of Interior, which they are in charge of local childcare centers throughout Thailand. So in this second national RH policy, they are trying to address a wider determinant of RH, of reproductive health, in order to promote quality birth and healthy growth. Quality birth is something that has to be used carefully, because you can sound like you are trying to discriminate. A lot of people might feel like, oh, you have to have quality birth, so poor people are not allowed to have children. Is that what you're saying? So that is something that you have to be careful when you say you're promoting quality birth. So actually, in their policy, they say every birth is wanted and and planned. Okay, so if you want that child, then you are having quality birth, and quality in terms of health. That uh, the mothers, they get folic when they're pregnant. The kids, the babies, when they're born, they get their breastfed, things like that. So in terms of health and in terms of economic, having money to raise the children, things like that. So the second one is a bit more comprehensive than the first one, but it is harder to implement because it involves many sectors. The first one, they just focus on, services, and it's within the Ministry of Public Health control, and they are able to be quite successful. But now that it is like it concerns the whole society, it's more comprehensive, but it is much harder to implement or to, get cooperation from all of the ministries. So I think that's a challenge. So the key achievements for the second national RH policy is, number one, they were able to significantly reduce the teenage pregnancy from about 54 to 21 in 2023. But as I say, that STDs rates in adolescents surged instead. So they have to work, with other departments within the Ministry of Public Health. Like I said, that if it's only within a department, they are quite effective in implementing the policy. But once it involves, other um, agencies, even within the Ministry of Public Health, they would have, like, some trouble. And another key achievement, I don't know if it's an achievement or not, because like I feel like it hasn't achieved much, the second national RH policy, is they did maintain the MCH standards, and that about everybody in Thailand. All the birth in Thailand are attended by skilled personnel. Okay, so I guess that would be the key achievements, but the gaps. Okay, so in the birth rates is as low as it had ever been in the history, in Thailand history. So they were not able to promote quality birth at all. And the main gap is that they were unable to effectively address the social determinants, the reasons, the social reasons, social and economic reasons that people do not want to have children. They cannot address that at all. So just to share the policy comparison, it's vastly different, the first policy and the second policy, in response to the different issues that arise during that time. So for the first policy, the primary focus was on family planning and access, focusing on contraception and basic care. While the second policy, we talk about the quality birth promotion. We focus on tackling the low birth rate crisis and population quality. The second one is the demographic context. During that time, the population was still growing, but it was starting to slow down. In the second policy, there was a population crisis, critically low birth rate, and aging society. The TFR target, in the first policy, they had no specific target for increasing birth. But in the second policy, they did have an aim that at TFR of no less than 1.6. Adolescent issues, they focused on general sex education and awareness, but in the second policy, they focused on prevention of repeat pregnancy and free long-acting contraception, like implants. But again, that doesn't, you know, uh, protect them from diseases. Legal framework, voluntary cooperation between agencies. In Thailand, we did have the Adolescent Pregnancy Act in 2016. I think that was one of the reasons why we were able to tackle the teenage pregnancy problem quite effectively. Infertility is another rising issue in Thailand. In the first policy, it was mentioned as a component, but there were no clear measures. In the second one, they did have like concrete measures for infertility, like they're pushing for fertility treatment rights and subsidies and fertility clinics for all over Thailand. And finally, collaboration. The first one was primarily led by the Ministry of Public Health, as I said, because the focus is on family planning and access. So it's care related, health related. So it's primarily done only by Ministry of Public Health. But in the second policy, where they want to promote quality birth promotion and they want to promote quality growth, it has to involve so many more ministries. So it's integrated across 5 ministries, like the health, the social development, education, labor, interior. So each of them, have their roles and responsibilities in making, having children much more conducive than it currently is. So I want to now talk about, like, after all this effort in tackling these problems in Thailand, are these problems still persist in terms of what in terms of low fertility. We not only Thailand, but many other countries as well are struggling with low fertility. And in order to understand this and solve these problems, you have to understand the broader determinants, the reason why people choose not to have children. And it could be something at the individual level, it could be something at the social level, or it could be something at the structural level. Okay, so like at the individual level, it's like your knowledge, your behavior, your lifestyle, things like that, your own preference. That is something that is one of the determinants in like people do what they do. The second one, in terms of social, there would be like gender norms, family expectations, like even though in Thailand, like in terms of gender inequality, is not too bad, but still within households, women would be expected more than men to do the household chores, to look after the children, because it still feels like that is a role of a mother to do. And that is one of like the main reasons for Thailand, for women not to want to have children. And if you look at the data, you would see that the, the desire to have children in women is lower than in men. And I have also collected data by like interviewing, doing focus groups. And I also see that like for women, they are more reluctant to have children. They think more. They're trying to like, okay, if I do have children, how is it going to affect me? Like, how is it going to affect my life? How is it going to affect my career? And when I interview women, it's quite different from when I interview men. Men sometimes like, yeah, I want children. And they don't think too much about it because in reality, it affects them less than it affects women. They hardly have to give up work. While women, a lot of times, you have to give up work. You have to quit your job in order to look after your children and then become financially reliant on your husband. That's a big decision. But for men, mostly they're like, yeah, yeah, I'd like to have children. I asked like some younger people like if they want to have children. This was like in class, undergraduate students, and asked to show hands if you want to have children or not. And more girls raised their hand to no children, and more boys raised their hands to yes, I want children. And when I asked them like, okay, why do you want children? And they're like, I just want like little me's running around, like a little version of themselves running around. They don't think much about it as much as women. Okay, so that's the social part. And I think the third part is the most crucial, is the structural part, the economy, the education system, migration. Because in Thailand, the basic education provided by the government is not very good. That one is the free one, right? Public schools, it's not very good. If you have some money, you would not send your children to public schools. Like okay, there are about 30,000 public schools in Thailand. About 10 of them are good quality. The rest, not very. Okay, so if you're not in those like selected few public schools, then you would have to pay for a private school. And most pay for private schools, and it's expensive. And right now there is a growth and like kind of like a trend to attend international schools. And international schools are ridiculously expensive, like ridiculously expensive. Like if you might decide to have only one child instead of two because it's too expensive to have two children and send them both to international schools. In Thailand right now, actually, public schools are closing every year. Thousands are closing every year because we have fewer birth, right? We're from 1 million children per year, we're down to 400,000 children a year. So schools are closing, 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 but those are only public schools. International schools in Thailand are growing, growing, growing. Everyone wants to send their children to international schools. Like I said, very expensive. So now, if you haven't had any children yet, and you're thinking, okay, if I have children, where would I want to send them to school? I don't want to send them to public schools. They're terrible quality. I have to send them to a private school, and they can cost up to like 1 million baht per year, which is like extremely expensive. And you can't just send them there for just 1 year. You have to send them all the way until they graduate. So it's a lot of money. So yeah, if I know I can't send them to like, a really good school, would I want to have children? Would I want to have children that, would have mediocre education and not be able to compete in the society? That's a big issue for Thailand, I think. The economy, um, yeah, the economy is one of the reasons, but I think the economy mostly has to do with the cost of raising children, and the majority of the cost of raising children is the education. So it's related. Migration, a lot of people migrate in Thailand for work. A lot of people come to Bangkok to work, or major cities, work in factories. And what of their children? Usually in Thailand, the children would be left with the grandparents. The grandparents will take care of their grandchildren, and then the parents go to another city to work. And so that is called a skipped generation. And is it ideal? Of course not. And that is one reason why people would, think twice about having children. So as you see, there are so many problems or many determinants in order to promote birth, if that's your goal. If you want people to have more children, there are many, many determinants that are involved. And when you have a policy, you can't just have a policy um, that addresses only a single issue and the other issues remain untouched. Okay. So, the social determinants of health, this is something that we need to take into account in all health issues, all health behavior, all health outcomes, no matter what you're thinking about. Because if you want to change behavior, if you want to change outcomes, you have to understand the social determinants of it. Okay. For example, like having children, there are general socioeconomic, cultural, and environmental conditions that is an overarching issue that has an effect on how you're living, on how you're working, okay, and your work environment, your education, your agriculture and food production, the level of unemployment, water and sanitation, healthcare services, and housing. And then you have social and community networks, the people in your community, if your family and things like that, that also has an effect on what you decide in your life. And then there's the individual lifestyle factors, and then the individual factors like age, sex, constitutional factors. So this is something that I would like, you know, public health students to be aware of when thinking of policy and things like that. In the Ministry of Public Health, they would be concerned only about healthcare services. But in order to have more children, there are so many other factors, overarching determinants that would affect, how whether or not they have children and how many and when and all the other details. Okay, so for Thailand, I would like to start concluding for Thailand. Looking forward, I think the main thing is that we have to find a way to support desired fertility. Having children or no children is your right. It's the family's right. It's the couple's right, whether or not they want to have children or not. But the reality right now, people are now having fewer children than they desire, which is the opposite of before, that they used to have more children than they desire. Right now, they have fewer because of, economic, the cost and things like that, or like having to sacrifice work and things like that. So how can we design an environment that supports people to have the desired level of fertility? The second issue in Thailand is also is on inclusive SRH. Especially in recent years, Thailand have legalized same-sex marriage. Okay, so in Thailand, it is okay for the same-sex people to be married, but this does not translate yet into having children and things like that. So it has to include every person in Thailand, and SRH issues for different groups of people, which brings to the third issue of aging and reproductive health. Okay, so Thailand is rapidly aging. We have a lot of older people, and older people does not mean that they do not have reproductive health issues. It's something that people often overlooked. This is something that we might have to focus on more of aging and reproductive health. So I think those might be like the remaining challenges for Thailand going forward. So what I would like as the key takeaway, if you get anything from this lecture at all, is the first thing is that the issues involving SRH is not static. It changes all the time. It evolves with demographic and social change. Thailand, you can see from 50 years ago to 10 years ago to now until 10 years in the future, the SRH changes, evolves. And so our priorities have to keep changing as well. Okay. Number two, I would also encourage you to look not only at the averages. Okay. We have abundance of data right now, and looking at the averages might conceal some inequality. And we might feel that, okay, we're doing well, but actually we might be leaving some group behind. Okay, so inclusion is an important issue. So inequality, yeah, inequality is a real issue. So if you look at, progress trends, try to also look at, disaggregations in, like, in the age groups, in the social economic status, the area that they live in, and other demographic factors. Okay, so we do not leave anyone behind. And the third main key takeaway is health services alone are not enough. It is fundamental, it is important, but services alone are not enough, because as we see that we have the social determinants, and in the second policy in Thailand, the second RH policy in Thailand, one of the reasons that it did not succeed is because it was not able to address the social determinants effectively. They tried, but they were not effective. So we need to think about the rights, the culture, the behavior, things like that. They matter. Okay, so that's the end of my lecture. So what shall we do now? I have like two discussion points, but I don't know if it would be possible with the Zoom.
Yes, I think we can start for the discussion session. Uh, is there anyone who wants to raise your opinion about maybe which issues are similar? Actually, I wanted to raise my issue as well, but I will just give the opportunity to our student first. Is
Okay.
there anyone who wants to share your opinion about what are the similar issues or different issues? Or maybe if you have any question, please, you may ask. Tika, please. Tika, can you unmute yourself or not? Can you unmute yourself? Atika?
Yeah.
Hello, Professor. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. I think I want to give some opinion from myself. I'm sorry if I have any mistaken. I want to respond about which issue is similar and which is different.
Okay.
As far as I know, Indonesian TFR right now is around 2.18 or 2.19, around that. I'm sorry if I have any mistaken. And as far as I know, the TFR, the from last 5 years is also have a decrease, but the difference is Thailand already have a TFR until 1.6, while Indonesia is still in is 2.1.
Mm.
Right, that Miss Professor.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of the TFR, you can see, some of the differences. I suppose that right now in Thailand and Indonesia, the TFR is quite different. So if you are correct, then it's above 2 right now for Indonesia. And in Thailand right now, it's actually below 1.6 already. It's 1 or perhaps even lower, because the most I did not put it in here because it's the most recent estimate is 0.9. So it's below 1 right now in Thailand. Yeah, okay. So for Indonesia at 2.1 something, is there any concern?
Due to the TFR.
Yeah, with the TFR of 2.1. Maybe like from your understanding or from what you hear in the news, is this anything of any concern right now?
Atika, would you like to answer?
Yeah, actually, there is no really concern about that. I actually knew this news from the social media that where Indonesian people discuss about this Indonesian TFR that going down
Mm-hmm.
to 2.1 around that professor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so
What we need to concern is that we started big because we have more than 200 millions of population. So I think in 2.1, maybe we still need to decrease it, in my opinion. Anyway.
okay, so maybe like there's still like ideas that it's still too high and decreasing it might do some good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in that context, it would be different from Thailand right now because Thailand, we're thinking of uh, increasing
Yeah.
the TFR, which not everyone agrees actually, because like I work in the Institute for Population and Social Research, and I look at this issue from kind of like the academic point of view. But if you go out on the streets, I don't think people would think that we need to have more birth, which I understand. And I think it is okay as well that the population of Thailand will be shrinking as long as everybody has a good quality of life.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need like a bunch of people. We just have to have like make sure everyone would have a good quality of life,
Yeah.
which would be harder if most of them were older people. If suppose like half of the population were older people, then a lot of them won't be able to take care of themselves. We still need a good size of working age people to support and things like that. So what, from my point of view, decreasing birth rate is okay if it's not too fast. If it's too fast, then we would have like, you know, a problem in the future. But if it's declining steadily, slowly, I think we could adapt. Yeah. Anything else? Any SRH issues in Indonesia that you would like to share?
Is there anyone who wants to raise your opinion or asking any questions? Alia?
Okay, so hello, Professor. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. I think I have a question. So I believe that another current issue in Thailand is air pollution and air quality. I think this problem is kind of same in Indonesia because last January I visited Bangkok and I kind of frequently receive some notification about warning about this poor air pollution. So, from your perspective, how does air pollution impact the reproductive health, and how has the situation has been managed there so far? Thank you.
That is an excellent question. And it's another issue that I am very concerned about as well, regarding the air pollution. And for Thailand, we would have seasons that we have bad pollution, not Thailand, Bangkok, because Bangkok and the northern region are the two places that is affected by the air pollution. For Bangkok and the central region, it would be right about the time, Elia, that you went to Thailand. January is one of the worst times for Bangkok with the air pollution. For Chiang Mai, which is up in the north, they are suffering right now. And it has to do with things like crop burning. When they burn crops, like for Bangkok, around Bangkok, there is a lot of farmland. And a lot of times farmers, I mean, that is their way of preparing their farmlands by burning, some of their crops. So that creates a lot of smog. And during January, the wind takes all the smoke to Thailand, to Bangkok, and it stays there. And this year actually has been better than the past years because the Bangkok governor, he has asked for cooperation from other provinces not to burn. Okay, we can't stop them burning at all because we don't have a better alternative for them that would be as cost effective. If other alternatives has a lot of cost, then farmers, they don't want to bear the cost, then they would want to burn. What the governor of Bangkok has done is he looked at the data of the wind. The day that there is not enough wind, no circulation and things like that, he would ask them to hold off burning. But on the days that I don't know the technical terms and things like that, but when the pressure is not as much and the smoke can rise up, and not affect people as much, he asked for them to burn only on those days. And I would say not all, but the majority of provinces, they cooperated. And so we had fewer bad air quality days this past in January. So it was actually better than usual already, but it was still bad. Anyways, your next question regarding how it affects reproductive health. I think it affects the decision for people to have children as well, because children, babies, they're very vulnerable to air pollution. And when you look outside and you see haze, you see smog, you don't want to bring a baby, especially your own baby, into the world. So I think that is one of the reasons that could deter um, their decision to have children. If you go look at this is what you are talking about: the general socioeconomic, cultural, and environmental conditions. This is something that affects your behavior, affects your health outcomes. So this is something that definitely would have an impact on the reproductive health as well. Yes, that's a very good observation. Well, before we go on, do you see any other ways, because I might not be thinking as comprehensively on how air pollution might affect reproductive health?
Alia? Alia, are you still here?
And you don't have the mic. Yeah, do you have like any other ideas on how air quality might affect reproductive health?
I think it will affect some infertility risk or maybe like yeah, some kind of like that and maternal mortality.
Actually, yeah. I don't have like the empirical evidence for that, but it is very plausible. And it also like I think I have seen some papers about mothers being exposed to the pollution, and it affects like the birth weight and the cognitive development of the baby as well. Okay, any other questions or I see something in the chat. Oh, okay.
Maybe, oh yeah, Felicia, please.
Thank you. Sawadika, Professor. My name is Felicia, and I want to ask you something. Actually, you have mentioned this just a one word that the Thailand has legalized the same-sex marriage, and actually, I'm very curious about that because in Indonesia, it's still not allowed for us to do that. And since in Thailand is currently struggling with low fertility, how does the government view the same-sex couple in that context? Are they seen as a part of solution, for example, by providing access to surrogacy or adoption? Or is there still a gap between the local recognition and the actual reproductive health services? Because you have mentioned that we have to think about every aspect for implementing this reproductive health, right? Okay. And that's my question. Thank you.
Yes, okay. That's also another great question about the same-sex marriage and also reproductive health issues. And I'm not completely sure like what is the latest right now, but I know that they are drafting in the process of drafting on like how to uh, support same-sex couples to have children, like with surrogacy, adoption, and things like that. And they are changing that because I did interview um, from someone from the Ministry of Public Health who is looking at the infertility issues. So in response to the second national plan, they have tried to make infertility as part of the healthcare coverage that it would support, some of the costs because it is expensive, the infertility services. And they also try to have clinics, more widely spread within the country. And another important issue that they are looking at and trying to push for the rights is for the same-sex couples. And I am not exactly sure how, like what the progress is now. I just know that right now they're in the progress of doing that. So we will have to wait and see like what issues it might raise, because there are, different issues concerning same-sex couples in having children than, other type of couples. Yeah. We'll see how that turns out in Thailand.
Thank you, Professor.
Ajahn, actually, I'm curious, since the TFR in Thailand is decreasing maybe like almost 0.9, is there any, what is it? Did it affect the economic situation in Thailand?
Right now, I don't think it's felt as much yet, but it would be felt in like maybe 15 years that it would be like the start of like the real impact. Right now, I think um starting to feel, but not that much yet. I think that is why politicians are not giving it as much weight as it should, because not everyone feels it yet. It might be felt at like at the individual level a little bit. For example, like people who are now getting older, they have fewer children, they have fewer people to, look after them, or uh, my generation or a little bit younger, that's probably like two siblings, not as many as there used to be. And there might be, in terms of taking care of our older parents. So there might be like in that sense. Now, in terms of the economy, we do have a shrinking labor force. That is true. But because of higher productivity due to technological changes, hopefully that would compensate some of the reduced labor force size. And also, if women have fewer children or have no children at all, we might be able to get some more female labor participation in the workforce. So there are like, things like that. And we have a lot of migrants as well that come and help with a lot of the jobs, like a lot from Myanmar, from Laos, from probably not Cambodia much right now, that come in Thailand to bridge the gap between labor and supply and demand of labor. Yeah.
I see. Thank you, Ajahn. And also, since you were mentioning about the social determinants, which one do you think is like the factor that most affecting the situation of the SRH in Thailand right now? Because in Indonesia right now, it's like we are divided into two big groups. The first big group is that they have the belief of having more children means having what is it, being more rich, because they do believe that each child they will have their own what is it, they will get their own money, and then they can take care of their parents later on, and they can what is it, supply everything with what they have. So they tend to have more kids in the future. And then the other group is the millennial and Gen Z group. They do believe that child-free is more preferable, I think. And they think that if you want to have children, at least you have to have your own quality first before you have children, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What about this, the social determinants that is most affecting the situation in Thailand?
Okay, that's a great question. And that is the question that I would, okay, not that one, this one, SDH. And one to see like how SDH impacts, different outcomes, like whether to get married or not, the fertility outcome, the use of contraceptives, So yeah, in Thailand, which one would I think? Oh, because there are many factors, right? If I had to choose one, so hard. But but I would be in the outside circle here. with socioeconomic, cultural, and environmental conditions. Because in terms of cultural, it's kind of like what you mentioned with, millennials and things like that. The value, the norms that people have in having children has changed. Like people do not feel like you need to have children in order to have a complete life, in order to have a complete family, to, take care of you when you're getting older, to have companion, all those values and norms. They have found alternatives that they feel is quite acceptable when they are child free. So I think that is probably the biggest shift. And the social economic part, like I said, actually, when we there is a report from, I think, UNFPA, called the Real Fertility Crisis, and it collects data from many countries and compare them. And for Thailand, the main reason for not having as many children as you want is economic. So, and as I said, economic issues is related to cost in raising children, and like with the education system and things like that. Yeah, I think that, well, that would be my take. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ajan. Anyone else who wants to ask or maybe share your opinion about the condition in Indonesia? Anyone else? No more questions?
If not, I have one more question.
Yes,
I
Ajan.
would like to know that for Indonesia, if you had to choose one priority, which actually is this one,
Mhm.
what would the one priority be for Indonesia? Um, increased fertility is actually for Thailand. For Indonesia, I don't know if it's Indonesia increased fertility or not, but for usually, like, you have to prioritize your policies. If there was one for Indonesia, what would it be?
Yuk,
This
yuk.
These choices are actually based for Thailand, that okay, the adolescent pregnancy, we have low fertility rates. We might want to expand sexual reproductive health services, or I don't know, maybe something else.
Apa kira-kira prioritasnya buat Indonesia saat ini?
Anyone?
Yuk, siapa yuk? Safna, Safna?
Who
Oh,
I
Sina. Selfie Sina, silahkan, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the time. Hello, Professor, can you hear my voice?
Clearly.
Okay, thank you. I would like to answer your question, but maybe this is more of a opinion for from myself about what do we need to prioritize here in Indonesia. As my friends discussed earlier, actually, what I think that we need to prioritize is the education, or maybe the understand. Wait, let me. Okay, maybe is the education, or maybe adolescents that need to understand about what pregnancy is, what the effect that they will accept if they pregnancy in early age. Like as we discussed earlier, some of the community thinks or maybe have their own culture that pregnancy in earlier age, like before they're ready to be pregnant, is okay. They think that as long as they have many children, they will have a lot of money, or as long as they have many children, they will get more respect from the other communities. So maybe that's my opinion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so basic health education, reproductive health education for teenagers, for students in school. Yeah, very good.
Does Thailand has the um reproductive health curriculum at school?
I think we do. Um, it's a bit outdated from what I understand, that it's been in for like more than a decade ago. And as part of evaluating their implementation of the second plan, I will go, I haven't gone yet, will go and interview someone from the Ministry of Education who is in charge of the content, the sexual and reproductive health content within the curriculum. I don't know much about it yet, but what I do know is that they they don't really give much importance. And from what I have talked initially, they don't really know much about it yet. They're just like, okay, getting the indicators, their KPIs, and like there hasn't been like a major revision in the content, to make it more suitable for the current context or anything. So it's not, it might be outdated, but there is, yes, there is. Is there Indonesia?
No. But we are, what is it? We have, in each school, we have the unit for health. And actually, the Ministry of Health has already trained the health unit in each school to educate their students about reproductive health. But since it is not included in the curriculum, then sometimes the school can do it, but sometimes, yeah, there's no obligatory. Okay, so we have comments here from Atika. She said expand SRHR access, and from Rayung, reduce adolescent pregnancy because in Indonesia still a lot free sexuality, premarital sex, yeah. And then culture about early age marriage, like opinions, yeah. Adolescent pregnancy have high risk for their future and Indonesian future, of course.
Hmm. Okay, very good.
Okay, is there anyone else who wants to share your opinion? Maybe other issue that you might think has more priority. Ada pendapat lain? Kira-kira prioritas apa buat Indonesia selain edukasi, terus adolescent pregnancy? Ada lagi? No one? Okay, I think no one else has other opinions.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, if no more questions, then I have finished my lecture as well and the discussion, and it's been quite a pleasure to be able to talk to Indonesian students and exchange some of the experiences. And hopefully, you can learn from our neighboring countries within the region and learn from our both success stories and not so successful stories. Yeah, we
Okay,
can
thank
learn.
you very much. Thank you very much, Ajan Kancana. Sorry, Ajan Manasigan Kancana Citra, for your insightful presentation and also for sharing everything that is for us is very valuable perspective for today. And the discussion has been very interesting and enriching for our students as well, especially in understanding the current issues about reproductive health in Thailand. We truly appreciate your time and also your willingness to share your expertise with our students in the Health Promotion and Behavioral Sciences Division. And after this session, I will contact you again regarding several administrative matters, including the documentation and also the honorarium process. Once again, thank you very much, Ajan, for joining the Undip Global Classroom. We truly appreciate it. And we also thank you to all students that are already being actively participating in this today's session. We hope this session provides valuable perspectives on addressing the reproductive health issues through effective health promotion strategy. Lastly, we would like to wish you a very great day. Thank you very much once again, Ajan. Khop khun kha. See you again. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Ajan.
Thank you, Professor.
Terima kasih, teman-teman. Jangan lupa presensi ya. See you.
Terima kasih
Terima
kembali, Bu.
kasih.
Terima kasih, Bu.
Terima kasih, Bu.
Ya.
Terima kasih, Bu.